like there's not even much of a dew this morning. Definitely very little mist or fog out on the lake, unfortunately. I was kind of looking forward to having some foggy pictures for this morning, but you know, you get what you get. It is a beautiful morning. The sky started out all pink. The sun just came up a little while ago, and well, I probably distance-wise more portaging today than I had yesterday, because I shot out with a 55 rodder into North Temperance, and I followed that up with a I think it's a 106 rodder into a little lake. Actually it has a name, but I can't remember what the name is offhand. Quick short paddle across that little lake, and then I have a 180 rod to get into Cherokee. And as I recall from coming through here before, that 180 rod has a challenge in the middle of it. So look, there's a steep bank to get down into a ravine, and then you have to climb back out of it. So that's going to be, if I'm remembering it correctly, especially with the canoe on my shoulders, it's going to be tough to negotiate. Anyway, I'll cross that bridge, or the lack thereof, when I get there. And in the meantime, I'll just enjoy myself, and I hope I get to Cherokee fairly early in the day. Managed to find a good campsite. Cherokee is a larger lake. It has lots of campsites, but it's also pretty popular. So, well, we'll see what happens now. I'm going to eat my breakfast. Sorry I don't have any to share. It's just oatmeal again. Okay, I have most of the camp packed up. At least I had the tent and stuff out of the way. I still have my kitchen stuff to pack up, but despite the mess that it looks, it's actually not going to take me much longer to get that all taken care of. Just wanted to show you real quick. Former campers apparently wanted to play cribbage and didn't bring a cribbage board along, so they carved one on the log here. Kind of cool, and then that's left for anybody else that might want to take it. So anyway, before I finish packing up camp, you got to take one more trip to the latrine. I'm going to take you with me. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you something that you shouldn't see. I just want to show you this camp is got the latrine further back than most. It's quite a hike. You definitely don't want to leave things until the last minute before you decide you have to go. This is quite a walk in the woods. If I bring you along here, I can also show you what a typical Boundary Waters latrine looks like. They do come in different flavors, if you will, but this is kind of the typical one, except for the long hike to get back to it. There it is, just a throne sitting out here in the woods. This one is different in that, or somewhat special in that it has a lid. Don't know if you saw that, a lid. Most of them don't have a lid, or if they did, it's long since broken off. Well, I'm all loaded up and ready to leave camp here. It was a very nice camp. heading into the sun. I should have put my sunglasses on, but I didn't. I guess I could dig them out of the camera bag where they are, but or no, in my thwart bag. That's right, that's where they are. But anyway, it's 9:45 already. I don't know, all this extra filming and everything in the morning. Doesn't seem like it should, but it seems to be eating up a good hour of my time. Because usually I can break camp and be on the water in 2 hours. We have had a couple of really nice mornings. I have been stopping and taking a lot of pictures and what have you, so I guess I'm paying for it by getting a late start. Anyway, we've got a little paddle to get back to the 55 rod Portage, because where I found the campsite, we're about as far away from the Portage as you can get on this lake. It was a nice campsite. I'm definitely glad I found it. And yeah, just worked out well. It's a lot calmer today than it was yesterday at this time. It's also pretty dang hot and humid. It definitely doesn't feel like late September. I worked up quite a sweat breaking camp this morning. Climbing up to the latrine was hard work. That isn't going to make these portages any easier as the day goes on, especially if we don't get any kind of a breeze whipping up. Big difference between now and summer is the lack of bugs, thankfully. They're not non-existent, but there's definitely not a lot. There would be a lot more if it was summertime. Okay, coming up to the Portage landing now. Again, this is the 55 rod Portage from South Temperance to North Temperance. It's a little bit rocky, but not as bad as some that I've done. Not too bad at all. And there she is, North Temperance. I love when you get to the end of the Portage and you see that blue open up in front of you, like that. This wasn't a particularly tough Portage. Just a couple of little obstacles to get around, not too bad. And now we're on North Temperance Lake. Man, it's too hot out here today. It's running like crazy. So, North Temperance, we get a little bit of a paddle. Maybe a little bit longer than what we had from the campsite to the Portage, but not much. Today's going to be a mostly portaging type of day. So, hi Sam. Sam sits right in front of me in the canoe. Not up front like my former dog Frodo did. Maybe it's time I told you a little bit about Sam. He's a 6-year-old schnoodle. Schnoodle being a cross between a schnauzer and a poodle. We got him about 5 years ago. I waited a year before I took him on any Boundary Waters trips, but this is now his 13th trip. 13th Boundary Waters canoe trip. Overnighter, that is. Seem to have a little bit of a breeze from west today. Just a little bit. Feels kind of nice. I'm heading into it right now. Feels very nice, actually. It'll be as hot as it is. 'It's so beautiful out here. I don't think it's quite peak, but it's awfully close. The nice thing is there hasn't been any big storms recently to knock all the color down as soon as it starts forming. Which is what happens a lot of times. So it just keeps getting better and better and better. Three beautiful days in a row. A little bit warmer than I'd like, but other than that, can't complain about the sunshine. Hi, Sam. Looks like the start of our portage just ahead here. Since this one's 108 rods, I'm just going to do a standard double carry. Take one load all the way across, come back for the other load. And landing doesn't look too bad either.
Usually Sam walks behind me, but today he seems to want to go ahead, which is fine. He turns around every once in a while, looks back like, are you coming? I'm on my return trip on the 108 rod or 106 or whatever it is rod Portage. There was another party coming the opposite way. Met them on the trail, and when I got to the other end, there's another party of two just getting ready to land. I should say 2+ because they've got a dog with them. Looks like a yellow lab. This isn't a particularly tough trail, and since it's only 100 rods, it's not all that long either. The skies are getting more cloudy now, and it might actually be getting a little bit cooler, which is fine by me. So anyway, getting back to those parties, I've now seen 2 parties exiting Cherokee, so hopefully that means at least 2 open campsites there. Okay, coming to the end of the 108 rod Portage into the lake that I can't remember the name. I'll have to look at the map in a minute and look and see if I can find it. It's a little tiny lake anyway. There's the canoe. And here's the landing. Okay, the name of the lake is Sitka Lake. So, here's a view of it. Just a very short paddle on this small lake. And then I have the challenging portage of the day. This is it. All rocks, but the footing in the water looks pretty decent. So we are here at the landing. Yeah, violating one of my own rules. The trail. I don't normally stop at the trail at the Portage landings to have lunch or anything, but it's 12:15. It's going to take me at least an hour, I think, to get across this portage in the Cherokee. I don't want to do like I did yesterday and hit the wall while I'm doing the portage. Like I said before, this is a kind of a challenging portage anyway, even if it is only 180 rods. There is an obstruction in the middle of it. As I recall, it was a ravine. Steep down and steep up. My plan is I'm going to take my first load to that ravine, come back for the second load, piecemeal it across that ravine, if it's what I remember it being, and then do a double carry there. So I'm breaking it up into 2 pieces still, not necessarily my typical 50 rod, 100 rod portages or pieces, but yeah, that's what I'm going to plan.
So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some trail mix. I'm not going to do a full-blown launch, but I'm definitely going to load up the trail mix. Make sure I drink plenty, pre-hydrate as much as I can, and hopefully I won't bonk on the way across. This won't kill me quite as badly as yesterday's portage did. Well, I made it across the portage. It took a while. It was definitely a rough portage. Just to give you some idea, that's the landing on the Cherokee side that you're looking at right now. Notice the steps coming down to the landing, and of course they never look as steep on the camera as they are in real life. But anyway, I made it, and now I'm going to make my way, find a campsite, knowing that I don't have to do any more portaging for 2 days now. Well, here we are on Cherokee Lake. Found a campsite. Actually, it wasn't too tough. It was actually, we passed up one or two that weren't taken before we found this one. But this is one that I saw on the map that looked like it would have a good view, partly to the north and partly to the south and definitely to the east. And it's on a nice point. And this is what it looks like looking into the campsite. Got a nice big tent area there. It is kind of slopey and kind of out in the open. I might look around and see if I can find another one. But anyway, here we are. Hopefully if there's northern lights, I'll be able to see them from here. The sunrise will definitely be visible from here. Catch some of the evening glow on some of the trees across the lake there. Life should be good. And now we've gone pretty much 360 degrees. I've got my boiler going for supper tonight. It's going to be pasta primavera. I'm going to pump some water. Oops, I forgot to get my bottles over here. I filled these before I left this morning. 32 ounces each, one with lemonade in it, one of them plain. And by the time I got to my campsite, I had just a swallow left in each one. So, drank a lot more today. Still feel awfully thirsty. I did get the camp set up, including a rain tarp. It looks like, well, I know the forecast was calling for cooler weather after today, and a possibility of rain. And the clouds that started out looking puffy and friendly this morning have gradually begun looking darker and darker and darker, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if we got rain tonight. If it cooled things down, that'd be fine with me, because it's been too blasted hot the last few days. More like a July trip than a late September. Anyway, whatever happens, I'm going to be base camped here tomorrow. No big portages. Cherokee Lake is large enough that I think I can spend all day on Cherokee. Even if I spent all day paddling Cherokee, I don't think I'd see the whole lake. So I don't think I'll try taking a day trip to any other lakes or anything. I'll just, depending on what the weather's like, of course, I think I'll just spend the day
paddling around Cherokee and exploring and taking pictures and what have you. And just generally taking it as easy as I can. You might notice a change of clothes here. I went for a boat swim. Water is awfully cold, so it was just long enough to cool down, which didn't take very long. And at the same time that I swam, I rinsed out my traveling clothes, and or the clothes I've been traveling in. And so when I came out, I changed into all clean clothes, ready for the day. Well, I was partway through eating supper when the wind hit. It blew pretty hard for a while. So I knew the rain wasn't going to be far after, so I retreated to the tarp, where I am now. It's still been more wind than rain, although we've had a little bit of both. Or, I should say we've had a lot of wind and a little bit of rain. Temperature dropped like a rock. I had Sam's blanket and my rain gear in the tent instead of under the tarp, so I'm going to make a dash for it just now. And of course, all Sam wants to do is go in the tent, get out of this, which I can't really blame him. But I finished eating underneath the tarp here, and so I got to get that cleaned up, and a few other things around camp straightened up. I have some things out, but there are things that can stand to get wet, so that's no problem. So anyway, we'll sit under here and see if this blows over or not. And if it does, then I can get busy with some of the camp chores. And if it doesn't, then I still have to get busy with camp chores. So either way, I'd rather do it in the dry than in the rain, but done it in the rain before. It's gone from being extremely hot today to now it's actually very cold. And I wish I had more than my rain jacket on. And I wish especially that I had gloves on. My hands are getting cold. But that's all in the tent, of course. So just wait it out, see what happens. Sam's advice, and we retreated into the tent. It's only a little bit after 10, but seemed like the good thing to do. This cold front brought in 30-mile-an-hour winds. It was actually blowing under the tarp. Tarp seemed to be holding okay, so that's alright, but anyway, it seemed like the best thing to do was to retreat into the tent. And so that's the end of day 3 for us. The rest of the week is supposed to be cooler. It's supposed to be around 50 degrees instead of in the 70s like it's been the last few days, so it's going to be a change, and hopefully it'll make things a little bit easier. It won't be so dang hot like it has been. So we'll see what happens, and with that, good night, and that's the end of day 3.